One of the big things we're seeing is a very rapid 42% growth in the number of targeted attacks. So on the threat landscape, the attacks are getting more targeted, where people are picking specific organizations to go after. Now, about half of those attacks happen in large organizations or of 2,500 employees or more. But half are happening in small businesses. And that's an area where we're seeing a lot of growth. In fact, that number targeting small businesses has gone up very dramatically in the last year. On the one hand, government agencies face a lot of the same threats that businesses face. So whether it's vandals or hacktivists or people trying to take down their network, just straight up hackers. But there are then a number of specific attacks that government agencies face that are unique to them. What we're seeing is a lot more of the attacks that focus on things like espionage are targeted at government agencies. We're also seeing the definition of what's a government agency expand. So for example, we saw a big growth in the number of attacks on manufacturing companies. And the reason for that, we believe, is that the attackers are looking very broadly at what is part of the critical infrastructure of a company. And a lot of the critical infrastructure here in the United States is not in the control of the government. And so the attackers are looking for key elements of the critical infrastructure and going after those organizations as well. So we've seen the motivations evolve. There is still a group of people whose primary motivation is to cause disruption. In the old days, they were the straight hackers. Today, you're seeing hacktivists, people with political agendas, that in a lot of cases are just looking to cause disruption and bring attention to their cause. We're also seeing, though, attackers that are motivated by an economic motivation. So people who are looking to steal, in a lot of cases, it's intellectual property that they can then monetize or use themselves to gain some kind of competitive advantage. In addition, we're now seeing the emergence of more and more nation states on the threat landscape that are actually looking to lay a network, if you like, that they could activate in the event of a cyber attack. I think a number of things are needed. One is sort of a broad awareness of the threat landscape out there. So real intelligence around what is the state of the art in terms of the attacks that are happening, what are the kinds of campaigns that the bad actors are using, and create that awareness within an organization. So people know to look for things like suspicious emails. We're still finding, for example, that phishing attacks over email are one of the primary entry points for bad actors into organizations. So one thing that's needed is intelligence and awareness about the threat environment. Next, organizations need a good understanding of what are their most important assets. Both physical assets and information assets, and then make sure that their most important assets are appropriately hardened. So really understand what is the top 1% or 5% of all the data you have in your environment that really is important, and make sure that that data is protected. And then finally, really understanding what is normal behavior for your organization in terms of who accesses what the network patterns are, so then you can look and detect any anomalous behavior and use that to predict if an attack is happening. I think they're going to go with whatever works. One of the things we're seeing is the continual shift away from a focus on attacking infrastructure to stealing information and stealing identities. And we think that shift is going to continue over the next few years, simply because there's so much money to be made from stolen information and using a stolen identity. Next, we're seeing an increasing sophistication in what an attack looks like. We're seeing multi-flank attacks become more normal. What that means is that an organization will run multiple campaigns against their target, in some cases to distract the target, in some cases to collect different pieces of information that can all be pieced together later. So we expect another trend will be, again, more and more complex attack scenarios. And then we continue to expect that the IT environments that need to be protected will become more diverse as people bring their own devices, as companies leverage the use of the cloud. And so the surface area that you'll have to protect will continue to grow exponentially.